All right, this should be it. Um, Hello everybody. If you're just joining now, aha, here we are. Let's see how this audio is working. All right, this. All right, should be working. We're a little bit slow, but outside of that, we're doing pretty good. So let me copy that to everyone. Celebrating year. So we're doing raising years. All right, that should send to everyone. I think that should work unless something's there. Oh, hey, Yonder Game is here. Hello. Fafaletin is here. Hello. I have no idea what I'm doing. But my plan, honestly, at a certain point, I should probably just do it so I don't freak out because everything's acting really slow and buggy. So hopefully we can fix that. But I want to look at this. Hey, it's Wilson. Hey, Doki guy. All right. So I've got the live chat here in my hand on my phone, so hopefully I can see what you guys are saying when you say it. If not, well, it's sad at the times. Don't focus too much on my content. I'm sure there's lots of weird stuff there that you don't really want to know about. But anyhow, we're here. It's a 3-year anniversary, which totally slipped my mind until I was uh, reminded that today was my theory, or like my theory was coming up, and I had work, so I didn't really have. I obviously did not plan this out correctly, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. My first year anniversary, I did a face reveal because I had realized that the mask was making everything so quiet and no one could hear me, and not having to wear the mask whenever I was in front of a camera made it so much easier. And then the second year, we just wanted to look back and enjoy some videos. And I guess I want to do some of that, not really just watching videos, but talking about the channel, how we got to where we are, reflecting on the past and present. So that's our plan here. Uh, so hopefully we'll have a lot of fun with that. So I did ask people to give me some questions for like a short little Q&A. I have all sorts of stuff that I want to go back on, but uh, so I guess I can go to that to get some questions out of the way, just since they took the time to say something about it. Congratulations. I know it's crazy that this is still going on. Let me go to my community. So people left their replies here as it slowly loads. Aging Digital Circus. Yep. And different people had left questions. So I believe the further down I go, hopefully I'll get the older ones, or maybe not. I don't really know what came first. I think it's the top down, I think. Okay, so it seems that some of the first questions came from the official Power 9 Lord. Who first question he asks is, how did I discover DDLC? Which is a good question, because it's actually a good story. Not really, but it is a story, I guess. Or at least it's something that I'm sure many people can relate to. So I, along with many others, probably first knew about DDLC through Markiplier's playthrough. Not the animations, but when he had made his videos. Shown here, I'm not gonna try to play everything. I don't want to show the audio of that because I'm really worried about getting copyrighted. But when he made videos 5 years ago, damn, it's crazy. But that was my introduction because I was a huge Markiplier fan. I was a huge FNAF fan because of him. It was that kind of content that led me to where I am today, I guess. But that was my introduction to DDLC. That's how I knew when it was a thing. So if someone referenced it, it was Markiplier's playthrough that I would remember. I never played it myself. I just knew of his playthrough. Now, the next question was, what inspired you to start the DokuTuber Awards? Uh, so this isn't what inspired me to become a DokuTuber. What inspired me to become a DokuTuber would have been way later. So way later on, I discovered the bike. It was the summer, I think, of 2020, the summer of 2020, and in his videos, I randomly got in my For You page. I don't know why. There was a lot of talk, and I remember I watched, I think, a game theory about like what a potential sequel to DDLC may look like. And around that time, I got a recommended for the. If I scroll down far enough, I'm gonna find it. Uh, a pleasant chat with Datsuki, which is somewhere. I think I just saw it there. A pleasant chat with Datsuki. This video right here. I saw this video and I honestly thought that it was real. I thought this was actually footage from a sequel, and that's why I watched the whole thing. I thought this was like someone playing through the game. But no, it wasn't until I read the description that it was a mod, that someone had made this up. And it's crazy, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So that was crazy to find out. And later on, I actually ran into the next thing I watched was not actually part one of the month with Natsuki. It was actually part two of A Month with Natsuki, which is really funny to me. Let's see if I can find her. Act 4, Act 2. Yeah, I didn't watch this. It wasn't in like right on the next bar of like videos to watch. I believe it was Act 2 that I started with. But I could be wrong. Maybe I did get onto Act 1. I don't remember. But I remember it was late at night in the middle of like the fucking summer, and I had a little lamp on. It was dead silent and blue illuminated, and I just sat and I watched one of these mods and I was immediately hooked. And I watched through all of these like mods of Natsuki's Month of Natsuki up until the end, and I wanted more, but of course there wasn't. So I went back to his content and I watched everything. I watched everything that he had because it was just so good. So all these videos I've technically watched at one point. Um, and that started me to get more recommendations from people like uh, the bike, not the bike, the Dreadnoughts. And eventually, then after I watched a lot of his videos, I got recommendations for people like Spaghetti and Monica D. And I would probably say that the catalyst around that time, let's see, where's channels? People, live playlist, community. Why can't I scroll down and look at channels? I have to scroll down all the way here. Oh, this is weird. That's gonna make everything interesting. But Monica D, who just went 100K, that's so cool, was a person that I saw, and I saw his series of Truth or Dares, and everyone gets kidnapped. Yeah, Monica kidnaps MC. Monica kidnaps this person. Those videos were around the time, 3 years ago, that were just being released and were very popular. And they are probably what inspired interest in like what I wanted to do, but also inspired me to actually do it because Monica D at the time was not as prolific as he is now, and he didn't even have English was not his first language, and he didn't have good English grammar, but he still tried and he made good content. And I said, well, if Monica D can do this, and they have such limitations that I don't even have because English is my first language, and it's like I don't have the disadvantage. Then I have no excuse to not try. I found interest in that, and I would watch videos from Dredgenox and Combo Dev on tutorials on how to make mods. Um, let me look at the Glory Mods. Yeah, it's so as I thought of that, I would start looking into videos on it, and I realized, of course, I didn't have the capacity to do it. I was barely able to get DDLC the game to work on my crappy Chromebook because it was a Google Chromebook. That was my little computer. So I needed a new laptop. So I was starting to save money up for that. And hold on, am I a part of this? I better be. Ah, look at me, look at I'm right there. I'm part of the boys. I've achieved such great success. Anyhow, let me go to what happened next, basically. So what happened essentially at that point was I remembered earlier that year my father had gotten me a little notebook. It was a blank notebook and it had nothing in it. It was just for me to write in. And ever since I was a kid, I had always told everyone that all I wanted to do was create movies. Whenever uh, I was a kid, I was like, "What do you want to do?" I wanted to make Jaws 5 because Jaws got a whole bunch of movies. It was like four movies, but they never made a fifth one, and it was my favorite movie of all time. It still is my favorite movie of all time. The problem was is that there wasn't more, and I said, well, if no one's gonna make, you know, more movies for Jaws, then I'm going to. I said I was gonna grow up, and I was going to make another movie. And ever since then, I was always fascinated about making movies. I would make short films with my family throughout middle school. I would make short films with my friends in high school. And around that time in 2020, he'd got me this notebook to basically write down ideas. He said that, I'll always support you no matter what you want to do. And if you want to make, films, then maybe you should write down some of your ideas. If you ever get something in a dream or just randomly before you forget it, you can quickly write it down. And then I never wrote anything down in it because I never had things like that. Because I was too focused on school, I guess. But I was at the movie theater. I saw someone with the Killer Clowns Outer Space, and I told her about the channel, and she subbed. My birthday's like 1 month from now, so I get the drink soon. Oh, that's awesome! And I'm glad that someone who enjoyed Killer Clowns from Outer Space subscribed to the channel just for that. That's so crazy to me. That was a fun mod to make, and we'll get to those types of things too. But when I was thinking about making mods, what I decided that I was going to write down all my DDLC mod ideas down in this book. And I sat down with my, at the time, girlfriend, now she's my fiance, and I talked about what I wanted to do. I said, I really liked some of those, like, people get kidnapped mods by Monica D. But the thing about them is that MC acts really stupid. And that's on purpose. That don't think that that's some diss on Monica D. But I said that I really wish that for some of these videos where there's a lot of tension that MC, the main character, would be able to recognize something wrong was happening or that all the girls loved him. And of course, I wanted to do a definitive Yandere story. And so I eventually came up with the title My Doki Doki Stalker because it was a word that was adjacent to Yandere that was not Yandere. And only one other DDLC video had ever used the term stalker in the title, which was Yuri's My Yandere Stalker was the title, I think. So I thought it was a good title. And so I just started writing down a basic script of who should say what and what should happen. And I made this mod right here. Um, Sorry to go live some point. Have a great weekend, you guys. The original server. Well, thank you, J Money, for joining, and it means a lot. The thing about my Doki Doki Stalker is that it originally was so different. I wanted to make something different than what everyone else had made. And eventually I made something that I think is very similar to what most people make. It's just a bit more dramatic, a bit more intense, and more drawn out. But the thing about Stalker is that originally it was going to be the same general thing. The main thing that I thought would make it interesting were two things. One, I wanted you to always suspect everyone. I wanted to kind of replicate, I guess, the thing and the way that you don't know who's the killer, who's the bad guy, who's the killer, who's the thing, who's the stalker. You were supposed to be able to go through this video and think that any one of these girls could have been this stalker. And and it worked because in the comments I would see later on that people had thought it was different people, but then of course it was Yuri. And I did always think that it would be Yuri at the end of the day, but I wanted you to suspect it could be someone else. But the ending was where it really changed. There was never supposed to be a love thing with Natsuki. There was no love plot with Natsuki in the original script. The original script had the love plot be with Yuri, and I wanted it to be one mod, and I wanted it to end with MC accepting Yuri's crazed, obsessive confession. And I just wanted to leave it at that. And because no one had ever done it. Everyone, whenever a yandere happened, they always would freak out and then run away and get attacked and get hurt, and it was always the same. And I said I wanted to do something different, and having MC uh, accept it. And so there might come a time where I remake my Doki Doki Stalker and I'd make that ending and I expand it into a series in which instead of it being about the corruption and the institute and corrupt cops and things like that, it would instead be about the hard truths of the horrors that come with dating someone who is so yandere obsessive. And that's something I still plan to do eventually, but I never have done it. One day I probably will, but not today. Eventually, while I was writing the scene of the argument between Natsuki and Yuri, I changed my mind and made it about Natsuki's love interest. Now, of course, I actually need to answer his question, which was not about how I became a DokiTuber, but how I became a part of the DokiTuber Awards. How that came to fruition, which is a good story. For this year, I think that's probably the biggest achievement. It doesn't have as many views as the announcement, but I'm very happy with 3,000 views. I'm very proud of this video, and how it started was actually really weird. The year prior, so around the time that we were making the endings of the SCPs and the series Christmas future type of mods, I was thinking about ways to do something with the community. I made so many friends, around the time I did a collab with Yandere Diverse and Monica D, and I wanted to expand on that, if that makes sense. I wanted to do something that had everyone involved, and I always wanted to do that. When I first started, my goal was not to have like a million subs. It was I want to be an active and prominent figure in the community. That is my base goal because I would love to be able to connect the community. And the way I originally wanted to do that is I wanted to make a series in which a group of dokis, um, and by that I mean just the dokis, not from a particular universe, just the dokis, there would be a crisis on infinite universes or something like that, and the dokis would travel between everyone's channels and their universes to try to fix it. Of course, Bowser's beat me to the punch with that, with his crisis, with his multiversal series. But my idea was not really to make it where I was coding everything. I was like, I would do one episode where my channel was featured, and then Yandere would go and he'd upload a mod where those same dokis would go to his series and it would show things from his mods. It wouldn't be like you would see your person, like your persona. It would be like they were actually interjected in the middle of a previous mod plot. Like the dokis would somehow be located right smack dab in the middle of a month with Natsuki, and they'd have to deal with the chaos that ensued in that, and so on and so forth with different series from different creators. That never came to fruition just because I don't think even realistically I could form everyone together to be on a linear path of a storyline. It would be very difficult. It's probable, and maybe in the future, if I can, if the community gets a lot more closer and uh together and like making content, we could probably do something like that. But that was the original idea. But around this time, I'd kind of given up on that because some people were just impossible to contact. Like I've still not been able to contact Dretchinox. And I still haven't been able to contact Candelea, and I've still not been able to contact uh, one other person for their. I haven't been able to really easily contact Bike. The Bike knows who I am, and he saw the awards, but I haven't been able to even give him his awards because I can't contact him. Uh, so that's fun. it is what it is. But I wanted a way that I thought it'd be cool if I could make a video that would celebrate the community. And the original concept was like, what if about at the end of the year, instead of doing a Christmas mod like this, I did like a DokuTuber rewind. Because one thing I sorely miss is YouTube Rewind. I loved getting to see some of my favorite creators in this huge mashup of different trends and cool videos from those years. I really miss it. And I was like, I wish I could do something like that, but for the DokuTubers. But I don't have the editing prowess to make it good, and I kept thinking of how could I even do it. And I also realized that the thing about the real problem with it is that most DokuTubers don't have something that really signifies them as a persona or something to signify, oh, this is related to them. So if you saw it, you could relate to it outside of a logo. Like, how would I show diverse Doki stories? Would I just show his logo? You know what I mean? Another problem with that is that most people don't want to show their face. So if we actually did somehow get people to come together and do filming of live action stuff, most of them wouldn't want to do it because none of them really like to show their faces. So that idea went out the window. And I don't, unless I can find a way to make it happen, it's never going to come back. But around eh, this era, around the time that the the trailer came out for Brenirk's Doki Doki Adventure, um, I had thought about maybe an award show because around the time Dead Meat had made this thing called the Horror Awards, and what I realized about that is that it was literally just them and their production team. But they had such a presence in the community, they're able to get horror icons and other people to um, make guest appearances in the mod, and they made their own awards and things like that. They did that, and there was nothing about it that made it like official outside of it was just Dead Meats. I mean, that was their company, but it's not like they had to go, I don't know, get a fucking license to make an award show. Apparently, anyone could do this. That's what it taught me. That's what it told me. It's like if I wanted to, I could technically do that. And I was like, well, what if we did an award show for the DokuTubers? That could be doable. I can make awards. I can make voting booths, and I can host a video where we show off that. And I asked DokuTubers if they would be interested in that, and everyone was super excited about the concept. Even though most of it had not even been planned out yet, it was just a concept of an idea to create connectivity within the community. But I went on Discord, I went to some of my friends on Discord, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think? And I went to my fiance, who was my fiance at the time, and I said, do you think that if we did this, we could do it? Because there's no point in just me doing it. I want you to be there. And she said, of course I will, because she's awesome. I don't care what anyone says, Bree is amazing, and I would not exist without her on this platform at all. She does so many sprites for me. She helps me with different plots. She helped me learn to code in the first place. She helped me find resources. Seriously, like honestly, if I did not have her in my life, I would Bernirk would probably not exist. So go show her some love. Tell her that she's awesome because she is awesome. So we came up with the awards and we came up with different awards that could work with it, and people were getting more and more excited. And we initially did is that around the time this DokuTuber Central server was being made as a way to communicate, and it seemed like perfect timing. So the award stuff got moved there, so it could be a server with many DokuTubers. I went on channels to find DokuTubers who would be nominated and told them that this was being planned out, and if they wanted to participate, just to go to the server or to keep in contact with me and we could figure something out. And that would lead to the announcement that happened like 5 months later. It took a lot. It took 5 months just to get the announcement, which was just setting up the the nominees and the voting forms. That was it. It just took so long because there's so many DokuTubers, and there's even more now as I learn about more DokuTubers that are being like created every damn day. It's gotten so much, and there's so much content from all of these DokuTubers, and it was very exciting. I was excited. I was also told that my thumbnails are shit. That is something that I was told a lot. But beyond that, apparently my thumbnails are not good, which I'm sure is very true. I don't. They say I should change them all, and if you guys think I should change all my thumbnails, I have considered it. Maybe I will. If you guys really want me to, I can test some things out, change some thumbnails, see if you guys like it. maybe we'll do it. But that's why the thumbnail for the awards looks like this, and then everything else looks so much different. So yeah, we did try to change things up to make a good thumbnail, and people seem to like it. But the award show was like full of guest appearances. I mean, they carried this. I mean, otherwise it would have been really boring because it would have just been me and Bree talking about people doing awesome stuff. Um, Forever and ever. Getting other people to get involved and talk about it and just get really pumped about it was the huge selling point there, and it worked amazingly. Ouch. I hope you don't. I don't know what I could have said that was ouch, other than the fact that I make shitty thumbnails. um, but I loved it. So many people got involved. So many people, uh, big and small creators were interested, and that was the selling point. That it didn't matter if you had 40K subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, or 500 subscribers. You were a part of this award show. You could win, and that's exactly what happened. People who had hardly any subscribers won. People who had 100,000 subscribers won a lot, and people who had only thousands of subscribers won a lot. And sure, it was a majority of like three people who won like a shit ton of awards, and that's mostly because those were the three people who promoted the awards the most. Um, Everyone who went out of their way to really promote the awards were people who won awards because the more people knew about it, the more likely they'd get voted. So basically, what I'm saying is that when we do this again, we got to spread the word out so more people can vote and we can have a more honest public opinion for these awards. Either way, very exciting. The idea was from the horror awards that Dead Meat made. I don't know if you guys know Dead Meat. Dead Meat. Let me see. Is horror? No, horror awards. Yeah, I think they did it twice. Yeah, 2022 and 2023. So they did, these award shows. But the thing about it is, like, yeah, the 2023 came out in 2023, but they were for films that were made in 2022. I decided to say, fuck with that. I'm making mine the 2022 awards because all the content's from 2022. I don't care if it's being released in 2023. The all the content, all of this is 2022's content. So it makes sense to highlight that this is 2022 specific, not 2021 specific, not 2023 specific. It's 2022's content. So 10, 20 years from now, anyone can look back on this video and say, ah, these are the awards that highlight content from 2022. Because that just makes sense to me. Anyhow, I'm getting a little distracted. That's my answer to that. So let's see. What is your favorite DDLC mod series you've made? Um, that's a good question, and it depends on what you mean by favorite mod I've made. If you mean as in forms of a story, my favorite story is it'd be so easy to just say Stalker and move on because Stalker is so popular. I think what the first video has two almost 300,000 views, which is insane. 300,000 views for 3 years. That's legitimately insane. Um, every single part has over 50,000 views, which is also insane. I cannot believe that it's gotten to that point, and it's amazing. It's simply amazing. So that's my most successful series. I think it has some good story. I think it keeps you on edge. If you could count the entire timeline as as a singular series, then I would obviously have to say that just because that one I think has just an amazing story that you can really enthrall yourself in. If you twist my arm and make me choose, I'd probably say just Stalker. Just I think I did really amazingly with that story, and that's why we've kind of added to that story to continue to making an overall amazing story. If we're talking about a series that I enjoyed making, then that would probably go to Doki-Tober mods, especially the Doki-Tober mods of the first year. Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, Scream and Halloween were mods that I thoroughly enjoyed making. I made them and I was very, very excited and happy with them. And next year when I did SCP, I just had fun with it. I just enjoy horror so much, and I love getting to shove that down everyone's throat. I think Doki Doki Haunted Mansion, it's not a series, but that's another thing that I made that I was really, really happy with and I enjoyed making. And now today with, this year's Dokitober is something I always find fun to make. I have so much fun making it. So that would probably be my answers for those types of interpretations of your question. Albert Toventrone asks, would you defeat the creepy characters, movies, and the SCPs to save the Dokis? I don't think this is a question of would I, it's if could I. Would I? Sure. I would totally do my best to try to save the Dokis, I am sure, because it's just morally right to. Could I? Absolutely not. I'd get slaughtered. I'd immediately die. It would literally be like I would be a minor inconvenience to some of these characters. I would immediately die. Now, to Monica, Yuri, Sarah, Natsuki, what is your favorite GDM cars? Do you think they're so much fast? I don't know what a JDM car is. Hopefully this is not inappropriate. Top 20 JDM cars of all time. All right, let's see. Ranging from Civics and Skylines, Okay, whatever this S chassis, that's Sayori's favorite. RX-7s, that's Natsuki's favorites. AE86, that's Yuri's favorite. And Monaga's favorite is whatever the hell that is. That is my answer. It's very official, very well thorough and researched. Well, Jacob asks, what's your favorite As Darkness Falls horror ambiance? Mine is Your Worst Nightmare, aka Trapped in a Mind Control Asylum, and Dungeon of Horrors. For context of this question, around the time that we were talking about making Dokitober Year 3, Jacob had left a comment saying that he'd left a link to a like 2 hour long video that was a whole bunch of songs compiled together that I could export, cut, and put into my videos. I did not do that because it seemed like a lot of work. Usually, when I'm looking for new music, I go to royalty free music websites um, and download them from there. That is what I do. It's nothing great. And I'm really happy with some of the music that I've got. I'm excited to show them off and the horror mods. I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. But that is my answer, really. I don't really have a favorite because I don't really know all the songs. Let's see. What's your plan for your upcoming mods? Well, I made a community post about it actually. I had talked about it, so let's read that just in case. This is not it. There's a quick update for the plans of the year, so you're most likely moving into next year. Yep. So yeah, all this stuff is my plans. So basically, right now for mods, I plan to make two more Stalker shorts. You know, scroll down a little bit. These amazing things. There's two more of these that I need to make, and I'm very excited about them. And then there's the finale series of the Stalker timeline, and after that it's over. No more. Nada. Done. The end. It's called Doki Doki War. I'm excited. That's next. Honesty is the best policy. Honesty is the best policy. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and I also we're making the Dokitober mods, which is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Child's Play, Phantasm, and then the finale to the holiday series. A permanent ending, as far as I can tell for now, to the holiday series as we know it. I made the holiday series, and I think I don't really have anything I can add to it to an extent. My extension of it was because I missed Lucy a bit, and I also really missed the turkey. I missed writing those characters a little bit. But as I would write the mods, I would realize that there's nothing more I can add to them. Lucy's cute and she chirps, and that's it. it's she's not meant to be a main character. She's a cute side character, and I will love that cute little chick with all of my heart. And the turkey is a great enemy, but has turned more to a side enemy with time. Because he continuously, has to take a bit of a sideline to the holidays. Because why would, the main focus of a random holiday like the 4th of July be focused on just the turkey? The return of it was to kind of explain what happened afterwards, because it was a bit of a cliffhanger, and to give an opening to the multiverse. Because the first holiday series was an opening to the multiverse. We're continuing that opening by really setting things up for some amazing multiversal bullshit, because that's been the plan for a while now. And that should happen this Halloween. It's nothing. It's not perfect, but there were a lot of ideas that I planned for the holiday series, but I couldn't really find out when it would be perfect to show them. So eventually, I just took all my ideas and put them all into a timeline of events to release in one large mod, and that's what we're gonna do for the Halloween mod. That is probably gonna be released in Christmas or some shit. It's seriously just everything's taking so much longer than expected, mostly because I have school and I work two part-time jobs. I do a lot of work, and there's just not as much time as I usually have. But we make do. As time moves on, I plan to make future mod series that go into multiversal stuff. Like once the holiday series and the Stalker timeline is finished, it's not over. It's setting up what's next, which is other more one-off series that connect in a multiversal type way. And most of that usually centers around the new enemies that we've learned about, like the Entity. The Entity is far from over. We're setting up something really amazing, and I hope you guys are very excited for that. So cool stuff there. That's kind of the plans for mods. We have other plans for things like we wanted to do more live streams. We haven't been able to do as many. The Lego Challenge Marathon's on a hiatus for the moment because I became very sick of Lego games and I didn't want to just hate it. I wanted to have fun with it because if I'm having fun with it, then you guys can enjoy it more. I also wanted to point out that my first year anniversary live stream was taken down and blocked. I can still watch it, but no one else can because it has Christmas music in it. And it has some DDLC music, and it's all copyrighted. I get it. I used it in the background very faintly. So, 3 years later, it's come to stab me in the back as YouTube finally figured out that I guess that was there. Um, Hopefully, other things don't get blocked. I don't want any mods to ever get blocked. That would really suck. But we will see, I guess. We'll try to figure that out if that ever happens. But it hasn't yet. Everything seems to be going pretty well on that front. Either way, hi Leonardo. Yeah, sorry. That seems the general plan. There are other series I want to try. I want to expand my horizons a bit than just DDLC stuff. There is always things I'm just interested in trying something. It may not work, but for literally about a year and a half now, I've actually been setting up, doing a series based on horror novels. I have a huge collection of horror novels or horror adjacent novels or novels in general. And I'd love to actually read them, and I thought that making a series of my journey through them would be actually quite interesting, but it may not be. I've been trying to figure out what I would need to do to make it interesting. And I still don't know. It's not all until I kind of figure out what I want to do that makes it really interesting and fun for everyone to enjoy. We won't get that, but I'm still planning on making that. And there are other things like I was interested in doing videos that I mean there's the possibility of doing videos that are oriented around other types of content like Legos. I used to grow up loving stop motion animation videos for Legos, and I always wanted at one point to try doing that. I would love to try my hand at it one day. We shall see. Those are plans for the future, but that's distant future. That's like once, so many of my series have already been completed. I do have plans for future DokuTuber projects. I don't want the awards to be the only thing I do, even though the awards is a big project. It was a lot of fun, and I like the idea of bringing the community together. If I can figure out a way to do it, I would love to do something special for Christmas, to have like a Christmas something for the DokuTuber community. We shall see. It is all still in development, but I'm more than happy to tell you that at least there's an idea. So maybe if it doesn't happen this year, maybe it'll happen next year. Who knows? I surely don't. It's just plans, if that makes sense. I got a message. I'm sending also another server. Okay. Let's see. What's the next question? Are you interested in making a Reddit account? Ooh, that's a good. Um, so Reddit. I have a Reddit account. If I go to Reddit, I should already be signed in, but let me see. I might not be. Yep. See, Brenirk. I can go there. Profile. Oh, look at it. It's you/Brenirk. I'm right there. If you wanna see me, I'm there. Do I do anything? Absolutely not. When I first made it, it was around the time that this fucking thing was coming out. This amazing mod, and then I never did anything until the award announcement was out because I wanted more people to know about it. I wanted people to vote. I wanted people, and not a single person covered. No one shared. No one saw this and was like, "Yes, it's good." No one. I don't even know if people saw it. I have no idea. But I posted that, so it's there. I don't know why my cake date's March 31st. That's not true. Maybe that's when I joined Reddit, but my birthday is not that day. Do not celebrate my birthday that day. But I do have a Reddit. I don't use it much. I like, but some DokuTubers are only found on Reddit. Some of them only are found on Reddit and YouTube. And so so I had to have a Reddit account to contact certain DokuTubers for the awards. So I do have one. Are you subscribed to my channel yet? Actually, no, I am not. Uh, I'm not subscribed. I can subscribe. Doesn't do me any harm to click a button. But here you go. Yeah, now I'm subscribed. I don't know. I'm not as up to date. But there you go. Whoop, doo doo. Can I be your friend is the last question, and of course, I think with time, effort, and common being a good person in general is a great way to be able to make friends. And I think you can do that with anyone generally, as long as you're a good person, generally. Uh, but those were some of the questions that I got. I didn't get any questions outside of this from Discord or anything like that. So I think that's enough of questions for the time being. Uh, and I wanted to talk more about my time on YouTube. I talked to you about the awards, but a lot of these, mods, they have stories. And a lot of those stories come from, I don't know what they come from, but they come from my twisted mind. And I wanted to dive into that with commentary videos that I would make on my secondary channel, Brenirk and Brenirka, which you can all go and subscribe to if you really want to. But I don't really, I'm not deleting it because I have plans. If I make a series about horror novels or with Legos or with this or that and has nothing to do with DDLC really, it's going to go on the secondary channel. That's my everything else channel. So if I actually branch out, that's where it's going. But for Doki vs. the Great Turkey, which is not as popular as I want it to be, for the Great Turkey to be such a popular character, I'm surprised that its first appearance is probably one of the least popular in the holiday series. It's not the least popular, but it is not as popular as I wanted it to be. Especially since my first video got 290,000 and this only has 7.5 thousand views. Sad times. Maybe it's because the title says Doki Dokis versus the Great Turkey and no one knows what the Great Turkey is. I don't know. But when I was a kid and we would be at my grandparents' for Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, my grandfather, we call him Paw Paw, would tell us that the Great Turkey would come for us if we were naughty children. Uh, and he would either attack us or give us coal or something like that. He wouldn't give us presents. If we were good, our reward for being good was not being, I don't know, attacked or given coal. Uh, so no presents on Thanksgiving. Sad, but true. And I thought, and we all knew it was bull crap. None of us believed it. My grandfather has always been very open about making ridiculous stories just to entertain like that. And I thought the concept was so funny. And when looking back on it, I thought it was a great concept for a Thanksgiving oriented mod. And I still do. I honestly am really happy with that mod. And every time I revisit it, I laugh. I don't remember all the jokes that I made, but when I look back at them, they make me laugh. And I thoroughly enjoyed that mod to the point that I got it done in like 2 days. I was like a machine. Of course, with Stalker parts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I wrote all of the Stalker parts way before I ever uploaded a video. So when I started writing things down in scripts, I had written the script for Stalker, and I did it in the middle of the summer in my little notebook, and I finished it, and I was like, wow, well, I still have time before I could ever save up enough money to get a laptop or wish it for Christmas or something like that. Um, I should write more ideas down. And I asked my girlfriend at the time, now she's my fiance. I asked Bree, what she thought I should do next. Any ideas, any thoughts? And I was telling her, it's like, I really want to make sure that no matter what I do, that I have things for everybody. I wanted content that everyone could enjoy generally, and I've kind of fulfilled that, but not fully. I mean, I have comedic mods and I have romantic mods, but most of my mods are very drama, thriller oriented. Hopefully, with the future years, I will branch out more because I want to. It sounds like a lot of fun. It's just that I want to finish this story because I owe it to the people who have been so invested into the lore. But around that summer, towards the end, I went on vacation. And, oh yeah, no, actually, hold on. I asked Brie what she thought. That was where I left off. I asked Brie what she thought, and she said, "Why don't you just make a sequel to this? This is great." She thought it was an amazing story, and I said, "Well, Yuri gets, arrested in the end. What is she gonna do? Break out of the insane asylum?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, sure. I don't know. Hey, I don't have a better idea, so let's do that." And that simple thought turned into part two. And as I continued to write, um, I caught up with different ideas for like corrupt police officers, like Officer Burns, and the twist that it's her father. I didn't like the fact that Officer Burns being the last name meant that Yuri's full name was Yuri Burns. Um, that I thought that was stupid, but I liked the name Officer Burns because Officer Burns is after the name comes from a character named Roy Burns, which if I look him up real quick, Roy Burns, let's see. You'll see that he is the killer from Friday the 13th Part 5, which, if you've seen that movie, it's a copycat killer, and it's meant to be a ooh, surprise, it's Roy Burns. That was to be a bit of a hint to people who knew Friday the 13th that Officer Burns was, in fact, a bad guy and not a good cop. He was surrounding that kind of twist ending because that's what the character from Friday the 13th, a franchise I really enjoy, represents. Of course, Officer Smileyface was my first reference to a DokiTuber. I wanted to do that because Monica Smileyface was the main person who actually got. Look, I am very inspired by Bike with my content. I think that's very evident. But I never thought I could do what Bike does, and I still don't think I can. I think Bike is just very talented. But when I saw Monica D's start from like humble beginnings to now, from like Monica is pregnant series to uh, the Monica kidnaps MC stuff, I just saw that progression. And it wasn't until then that I started asking myself if I could do that realistically and how can I do that. That his content was the catalyst that actually get me confident in myself because I didn't need to have some background experience. I didn't need to be some amazing coder. I just needed to have a work ethic and determination, just like Marco Monica D did. And that's why I did it. So I wanted to honor that with that character. And as I would write, I would add more characters like Butler Bike, who was a huge inspiration, and so on and so forth with Chief Dretchnox and Officer Beluga as characters to represent, you know, the DokiTubers who heavily influenced my content. And that's still to this day. Whenever I need a new character, I think about DokiTubers that I would love to reference. I haven't referenced all of them, but I've referenced a lot of them. I have plans for new characters that haven't even been introduced yet to have unique names that you guys will like. I think my favorite, outside of Officer Smileyface, I think my favorite um, DokiTuber reference is Alpine Vortex, who was named after a waiter in the holiday series for the Valentine's Day special. He was just called Alpine Vortex. That was the reference. People were like, "Oh yeah," and he leaves. He comes back in the Beach Day mod for the 4th of July, and he says, "Fuck this, I'm out." And then a whole year later, for the Valentine's Day for this year, or all 2 years later, I think, yeah, the date with Brenirk. Around that time, Alpine Vortex had actually come back. He'd come back from a hiatus of DDLC making, and he changed his name to Su Sing Shu. So we incorporated that into the mod uh, by changing the name to Su Sing Shu and making a reference being like, oh, maybe Alpine Vortex didn't have a good time leaving. And so he came back and just changed his name. And I really loved that. That moment there was a lot of fun. But as I would make, hey Bree, um, as I would make the Stalker and I'd write it down, the story just kind of came together as I asked, who Burns was, and I made that reference. I asked, well, what about the mother? I thought of the character Dr. Buck. If you guys ever know SCP Dr. Buck, this person, this person is the inspiration for Dr. Yavon. When I thought of Yuri's mother, this was the person I thought of. And that's the basis of the character. Of course, Yvonne is a lot more cruel, a lot more evil, and as she progresses into more of a fight against the literature club rather than her sciences, she becomes less oriented over being astute, a right, and a scientist, and more of a warrior and a crazy situation. I mean, she doesn't really become a warrior, but she becomes more focused on that, and it alters her judgment completely, and it alters her as a person a little bit as she becomes more self-aware of her actions, of how horrible she's become, because that forces her to be even worse than she already was before to her daughter Yuri, which was really interesting to dive into. But this was the catalyst of that character. And she also looks like the name she is Dr. Yvonne Carmichael. So if I go to Chuck TV show, I don't know if you guys know the Chuck TV show, but there was a TV show called Chuck. It's about a guy who's a geek and he gets a supercomputer in his brain and he's cool. Anyhow, in the show, one of the main characters is a woman named Sarah Walker. You can see here, and she is blonde and she's smart and she's a spy. Sounded a lot like like the doctor I was creating, and her real name is Yvonne, so that's where the name comes from, Yvonne. And the last name Carmichael, Zachary Levi's character Chuck Bartowski, when he's ever a spy in the show, when he goes undercover, he gives the name Carmichael, Charles Carmichael. So I said Yvonne Carmichael will be her name because I thought Yuri Carmichael had a much better spin on it than Yuri Burns. So we made that name. I was very happy with it, and that happened, I believe, in part three, as we asked basically the whole point of that was to ask how could Yuri escape from this again, and two, what would Yuri's mother be like since we've seen Yuri's father? And that, of course, leads to the kidnapping, which is the catalyst for 4, 5, and 6, as we also see police corruption and more characters. Uh, Fun fact, around part 2, we meet a character named Dr. Ollie, who's a nothing character, and Warden Intrigan, who both come back way later on in this series to become huge roles in the series. Huge roles. They've killed and hurt more people than anyone else in the series, I would say. But they started out as nothing characters. Oh, hey, Lily Grimm. They started out as nothing characters. They literally it was nothing. They were just there to move the plot forward so Yuri could escape. After we finished part 6 and we killed Dretchenok, so sad, and we kind of had this weird ending where basically everything turned back to normal, which was the point because everyone was theorizing about how it should end and everyone wanted to either end with Yuri getting MC and them living happily ever after, because I don't know why they would want that since Yuri was acting completely insane. I don't, from a story perspective, it made no sense. From a Yuri Sim perspective, total sense. And then everyone else wanted, Natsuki to win and get, the love of her life back. And what I wanted was a little bit of in the middle because it'd be something a little unexpected and a bit bittersweet. And if you know my content, I think you'll find a common theme is that I very much enjoy an ending that's a bit bittersweet. Outside of horror oriented ones, which is like the Dokutober, which is just for fun. I'm not being too serious with it. I'm just trying to have fun and enjoy the holiday of spooks, and that always has a very grim ending. But outside of that, I like to have a bit of a bittersweet ending, and I think a lot of those mods showcase that. But around that time, I also made, of course, continued with the Christmas mod for the holiday series, which was not originally supposed to bring the turkey back. The turkey dies in the first mod of the holiday series. He wasn't meant to come back. But when came up with the idea for Santa to basically kidnap MC because the girls wished for him for Christmas, and he has to, grant the wish since they were like the tippy top of the nice list, and he uses an army of elves to kidnap him. I just randomly thought that an army of turkeys getting revenge for the Great Turkey versus the elves would be awesome. And that idea turned into the Great Turkey coming back and leading an army into battle. And I love it. I don't care what anyone says. That's hilarious. I I will never not find the moment that Santa drops his fucking red sack on the ground and just says, "Get 'em, boys!" Like that moment. That it's fucking hilarious to me. Mwah. But of course, around that time, we'd also come up with Gone Missing, which was a collab between Bree and I. Around the time, I had thought, what if Bree made her own mod? Sometimes people said it's like, oh, I'm letting someone else write a mod and we're seeing how it happens. And usually it's like I let the fans write the mod. And I was like, what if I let Bree write the mod? Because Bree, you may not know, is a bit of a writer herself. She enjoys making her own characters and stories uh, way before she even knew who I was. And I was like, well, what if she made her own story? And what she came up with was essentially the same thing, which was basically the girls would randomly go missing and it would be a mystery until at the end they would find out that it was the teacher. The teacher was supposed to be the culprit, kidnapping the girls and locking them in a basement under the school. That turned in, I loved it and I tweaked it into being related to Stalker. And we worked back and forth on it for a while until we came up with the Gone Missing story that you all know and hopefully love. And I love that. She did an amazing promo for it. This thing right here was awesome. It was all her. She did amazing with it. She thinks it's not good. She gets all embarrassed with her old art, but it's so good. It's so good. You all need to tell her that she's amazing. If you don't tell her she's amazing, you're not a true fan. Um, you're not a hardcore fan. You gotta appreciate the Bree. Okay, Bree's awesome. Uh, and that led to the series at that point. But another thing that happened is Apocalypse, which actually I think has a fairly interesting backstory, which is that a fan named I think it was Troy Powers, who sometimes still comments on my videos, but very rarely. But he used to comment on all my videos, and one of the things he'd comment, he'd ask me if I would create a mod, a DDLC mod based off of a video game he liked called Metro, and I'd never heard of that game. So he said, "Well, if you'll do it, here's a trailer to see if you'd be interested in doing, a mod of this." And I watched the trailer, and it was basically a post-apocalyptic world. And I was like, sure, that sounds interesting. But I really had no idea what I was doing. This wasn't a story that I really came up with. It was just something that I just accepted and uh, just went with, I guess. And eventually I just wrote down a random story about the girls transporting to this world where instead of them finding main characters from the game, because I didn't play the games, I tried to get my hands on the games and I did eventually, but it was way after I made this mod. I went for basically the idea of just an apocalypse with weird, unique creatures that I would see from the trailers and bullets being currency. That was the two things that I thought were the most interesting, and soldiers and Russian people. Um, and that was what came into Doki Doki Apocalypse, which got stupid popular. I really I went to be continued question mark with the hope that no one would care because I had no story, but everyone cared. The amount of comments I got saying, please make a part two. You have to make a part two. Please, for the love of the Holy Lord, make a part two. We need to know what happens next. And I didn't know what happens next. This is actually the video that Monica D found my channel with. Like, part six is where Spaghetti found me, and Demimob found me around this time too a little bit. And then this happened and Monica D found me and I was like, wow, this must be really cool. But I didn't know. But it was also around the time that I got 1,000 subscribers, and that was in the course of 2 months. 2 months, uh, like 8 mods, and I was already at 1,000 subscribers. We were chugging. We were really excited. And we were just really going along with it. It was crazy that 2 months had such success. And so I put this on hold because I was like, I really just don't know where this would go. I had no idea. I seriously did not plan a part two. That was a problem. And I was like, that's going to be a problem for later. And I instead made a Q&A. I tried to make a live stream Q&A, but what happened was is that I didn't realize how YouTube works, and I had to wait 24 hours after being granted live streaming privileges to actually make a live stream. So we instead went to Twitch, answered some questions, and then I wrote down those questions, and I made a video mod of answering those questions. I am interested to go back in there and see if I would change my answers. But yes, Snoopy was created there. Snoopy, I miss Snoopy, and Snoopy is coming back. I promise you all, Snoopy is coming back, and I am excited for it. So hold your breath. For the Valentine's Day mod, I actually remember this was the last mod. This mod actually right here. This was the last mod I ever wrote down a full script for. I actually wrote down my scripts pen and pencil, not pen, pencil and paper, and that would be what I would use to code. I would code off the script, and I stopped doing that because I felt it was a waste of time because it was taking way too long. I don't know if that's fair anymore because I take forever anyhow. Who knows how long it would take if I was writing it out? I don't know. But I stopped after this, and the next mod was the Valentine's Day mod. And I realized the problem with not writing it out is that I forgot a crucial moment at the end of this mod to put in. So I added it at the beginning of the Luck of the Doki. It was fine. It was totally fine. The idea for the Valentine's Day special was to really home in the lovey-gushy ending of Christmas and go for something romantic. And I think it did pretty well. I thought it was also really cutesy. And of course, I liked the idea that the other girls tried to weaponize the turkey because they were jealous, and then Cupid had to cure them so that there would be no more drama. Lego the Dog I actually like because I think I like the leprechaun a lot. I regret a little bit killing the leprechaun later on. I don't know if you guys know, Leprechaun's dead, or at least the Leprechaun we know from the holiday series is absolutely dead. I kind of regret it because I always liked writing for him because I love the Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movies. I'd never watched them at the time, but I'd watched scenes from them, and I loved his snarky attitude, and I tried to recreate there, and I loved that mod. Of course, the alternate ending. Oh my gosh, the alternate ending. I did that for April Fools. So at the end of part six, everyone kept telling me that they didn't like the ending because of this or that. Some people said that it was stupid because there's no way that they would be friends again. Most people have learned to shut up and accept that I know best when it comes to my. No, I'm just kidding. Most I would usually explain my case as for why it ended the way and why they accept their friendship, and I tried to include that in the mod. Some people didn't want to accept it, and that's fine. They wanted an alternate ending where Yuri got the guy. I don't know why, but people were really wanting Yuri to continue a relationship with the guy that she technically raped in part 4 or 5. That like time frame. Like it's really messed up. People didn't acknowledge that that was technically rape, but later on, like 2 years from now, on retrospective, people were like, "Wow, that was kind of rapey," and I was like, "Yeah, she drugs him, and then has sex with them. It's real fucked up. It's meant to be fucked up. It's meant to create tension as MC, has weird emotions about everything that's happening. I really enjoyed that it caused those kind of questions. But people wanted an alternate ending, and I said, sure, here's your alternate ending. And it's where Kotonoa comes out of nowhere. It's the first time you ever see Kotonoa, and she just kills everyone. The mod was very rushed. I made it in one day. One day. I just wanted to come there and slaughter everyone, and that was it. And I just was on the fly, which is why halfway through the mod, Natsuki's clothes changed. And it's also why the bike is nowhere to be seen in the mod, even though in the series the bike would have should have been there for that. Which I actually used. Like I saw that I found that out, and people pointed it out, and I said, you know what? It gave me an idea, and that was to make the alternate ending a dream that would foreshadow the events of corruption. So that was cool. And then, of course, we had the Easter Bunny's visit, which, of course, the introduction of Lucy, the wonderful little chick. She's so cute. And, of course, the introduction of Coach Noah as a ex. Ooh, a flame. It was funny, and it also created a more villainous Turkey as the Turkey kidnaps two police officers that we know and love, Officer Smiley Face and it's Officer Doki Queen and Officer Beluga, I think actually. I don't know if they actually get Officer Smiley Face or is it shit. I think it's Officer Smiley Face, Officer Doki Queen, and Beluga helps save them, or it's the other way around. I can't remember. It's been a hot minute. Um, but as you can see, after that we did the May the Dokis Be With You, which was for Star Wars, just because I wanted to. It has a little berry because it is the first introduction of the multiverse, but I just liked the idea of having Star Wars be there randomly. I don't know why, but it just seemed to make sense. Now, of course, around that time, I was taking an anatomy and physiology class to enhance my medical knowledge because at this point, I was taking cadet classes, EMS classes, and trying to build up a repertoire for emergency medical services, which is the job that I do right now. I ride on ambulances and respond to 911 calls. So if a person calls 911 because they're dying, I'm one of the people that shows up to help save their life. That's my job. And to help me I was assigned to do a project where I had to present a system of the body and go into the anatomy and physiology of it and get a little specific. And so I said I could do it in any medium that I wanted as long as it wasn't wildly inappropriate. So I chose to make a mod, and I shit you not, I presented that video, that 11-minute video, to everyone in my classroom, and it was amazing. Everyone was like, "Wow, what?" And I asked my teacher because my teacher made a point to say that she's seen everything, and I took that personally. And I asked her afterwards, "Have you seen anyone do something like this?" And she said, "Nope, I have not. I have not seen someone do that." And I got an A. But here's another thing about it is that when I needed to make this, I was halfway through coding part 3 of Gone Missing. So I had to quickly finish part 3 and then code Doki's Anatomy and Physiology for the project due date. And so these got released on the same day. Don't know if you guys remember that, but I do. The Doka Soldiers is, of course, for Memorial Day. I thought that was really cool because it added more lore to the turkey and things like that, and cool shenanigans. It also it creates Captain Woutmees, the wonderful character that I is going to make a grand return in the finale of the holiday series. So get pumped for that. I love Captain Woutmees. I love Woutmees as a Doki tuber, so I was really happy to reference him there. That was a lot of fun. Then we finished it, and at the time, this was the largest mod I ever. An hour and a half was the largest. It was crazy. And people said, "Oh wow, the music is just the same music the entire thing," and that's pretty true. About an hour of this mod is the same song, over and over and over again because I had nothing else for serious but mundane. So after that, I actually went and researched for royalty-free music so I could add it, and that would lead into the uh, Dokitober. But after that, of course, Doki's Beach mod, which I don't remember much too interesting on. I just remembered I thought it would be cool if Uncle Sam arrived and he had powers related specifically to the rights of the amendments. And I also thought it would be really cool if uh, Uncle Sam arrived and I finally got to put to rest this whole thing about where DDLC is set in. Because way too many people would comment and say, actually, it's all Japanese, so I don't know why in the world they were using American terms and American styles, and it's like it's an American culture. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it's because the writer's American. Um, and that's the honest response. But honestly, to me, as I see mods, they all seem to take place in the origin country of wherever um, the writers are from. To an extent, there are certain cultures that leak into that to an extent, but generally it's all very similar, and it's very much like I explained it, like it's like Ace Attorney. Ace Attorney is a game that's a lawyer game, but it's very popular, and its world setting is not Japan and it's not America. It's a fake land where it's a mixture of Japanese and American cultures, which is interesting. And I said that that's basically the same thing here because there's nothing in the original game to say that this has to be Japan. If you want to be some die-hard guy who says that it has to be Japan because you're a weeb, go for it. It's just not what I'm doing. I am not about to study the cultures just so that you can feel better when you sleep at night. My stories are not about that, and I am not about to attempt and fail miserably to represent a culture that I am in no way uh, trained to represent. So that mod was a great way to have Uncle Sam come there and punch those commenters in the face in a way and say, it's America. And then the Dokis are like, this is America? And I think Yuri says, like, it's never really clearly explained. Which is also that's a reference. Oh, hey Zach, hi. Um, that's a reference to the Avatar in the final season. Towards the one of the last episodes, the main characters watch a play about themselves, and they rewatch an interpretation of the death of a character. And Toph, or it wasn't Toph, it was Suki. Suki said, "Did that character die?" And Sokka's character said, it's not really well explained. It's very unclear." And that was a bit of a reference there to that, if you could pick up on it. Of course, around this time I was at 2,000 subscribers. Very exciting. This would have probably been the mod to celebrate that. But I wanted to do something special, and a part of that was revealing my face and doing a contest where if you were able to watch my second channel and guess the first letter of every book that I go through in my Stephen King collection, I would give you you would type it in as a code. I'd give you a link to the video showing my face, and you would also go into be basically in a raffle of some sort where if you wanted to, or I said there was an art competition. If anyone made art of themselves or or like any type of art they wanted to be in a mod, I would take it and center a mod all around it. But you can't hear my voice in this video because I'm wearing a mask. So no one knew that except for like one person who only wanted the video. They weren't artists and it wasn't the best plan for the art portion. No one knew what the fuck was going on because I was wearing a mask, which is why later on when we hit the 1 year, I got rid of I stopped wearing the mask for my in-person appearances because no one could hear me. The Massive Magnum. Oh, the Massive Magnum, guys. That's a good one. So the Massive Magnum, there's around this time I started making live streams of video games, and one video game series that I very much enjoy is the Resident Evil franchise. And I wanted to play through all the games, but I didn't want it to be boring. So the way that I thought would make it interesting would be having little challenges for me when playing these games. And part of that was maybe completing it on a difficulty or doing a certain task, things like that. Um, Unlocking a certain weapon, doing certain challenges in that area. And I've done it for every single game in the Resident Evil series that I own. I'm very excited about that. But when I was playing the remake of Resident Evil 1, there's a scene where it's a close up of Barry Burton, who's a character who has a magnum as his main weapon. Since it was a close up, his magnum was closer to the screen than anything else, and it made the magnum look very large in comparison to the rest of his body. And a YouTuber, a commenter going by Yuri, commented, "Why does Barry have such a massive I want to say revolver?" And I lost it because I said, well, actually, it's a massive magnum. And then it turned into this huge innuendo. And we joked about it for a good hour. The massive magnum. And I said that was so funny. And I promised you, I said to that Yuri commenter, I'm going to make a mod of this. And I sure as shit did. And I didn't know where this was really going to go when I made it, but at the end I thought, what if it had a really dark twist turn? Because you know me, I like the dark stuff, I like the bittersweet stuff, and I like the gotta make it art. And Barry Burton is killed by Yuri, who is revealed to be part of some sort of organization sent out to kill members of STARS and/or members who have been opposing destruction of the world of bioterrorism or whatever. And I left it to be continued to see if people would be interested in a Resident Evil series. And lo and behold, absolutely no one is. Has that stopped me from making up ideas of what a Resident Evil series would look like? Hell no. I've just postponed it. Of course, around this time, I realized that it had been about half a year or so since Apocalypse came out, and there was no part two, and people were still asking about the Apocalypse mod. So I took time off of every other project I was working on, and I asked myself what would happen next. And I spent the entire weekend focusing on it, and I was able to come up with the rough ideas for parts 2, 3, and 4. I coded them all out together. I recorded them all. I got amazing drawings from my fiance for part 3, which is they are stellar drawings. I really wish I could use them again.
On December
I don't know why this
1st,
is stop.
legendary director John Woo
I don't want this.
returns
I don't want this.
with a new Christmas classic.
If I refresh,
Critics and audiences
if I keep
proclaim
refreshing, nope. Eventually my stubbornness will win, right? All right, here we go. So this right here, this amazing picture, I was very happy with because it's a fucking attack and it's just everything going around. This scene was inspired by the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, where in the beginning all of the characters are flying towards the Weasleys' uh, house, and they all disguise themselves as Harry, and they are all attacked in this huge onslaught by Death Eaters, or bad guys, if you haven't seen the movie. It's very intense as you start going through the clouds and the fog, and then as you get out, it's complete chaos, and everyone's being attacked. And I loved that scene so much that I wanted to take that and do my own sort of love of it. I still haven't really watched any of your videos. Well, that is a travesty, Zachary. But to be honest, I have only watched so many of your. I can't say I haven't watched your videos. Damn it, because of the fucking awards, you asshole. I had to watch your videos because I had to see what would qualify for different awards. You okay? Well, anyhow, um, that was the inspiration for that. The orb character was inspired by different synopses of the games, and I did play certain parts of different games for the Metro series to kind of get ideas. And I ended up with the idea of using the main characters as they are described in the wikis and try to create something that's faithful and interesting. And I try to make a villain that had a mentality that is the same as the theme for Metro, which is that monsters are probably not actually monsters, and you should stop just killing things because they're different. Because it turns out that not everything is just so horrible. So we made that. Labor Day, it's I'm disappointed with this mod because I do enjoy the multiversal stuff, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Labor Day because I really couldn't think of anything that could happen on Labor Day that was interesting. But you want to know something interesting is that I made this mod and then the next day I saw a video talking about the history of Labor Day and it was talking about child labor. And I was like, and I instantly put on my head, wow, imagine if the Dokis were transported into a huge steel mill where they had to free uh, enslaved children who were being forced to work for like nothing, and it was all being led by some crazy Labor Day holiday figure with the aid of the Great Turkey. And I was like, that would have been a much better mod. And I always regret that. If I could go back and change one mod, it would be that. I thought that was a great idea. Of course, around this time, we introduced Corruption, which Corruption, Brenirk's Doki Doki Adventure, and Doki Doki War were planned around this time, around the time that we were finishing up the grand finale, and I was thinking about how the story was going to go. I also came up with ideas for afterwards, and that's why there's certain setups for this, setups for that, and we came up for basic ideas for Corruption, for No Doki Doki Adventure, and the Doki Doki War. The only thing that wasn't thought up of was the Children of the Institute, which wouldn't come much later. But for Corruption, I thought, well, this is the aftermath of basically Gone Missing's thing, where everyone remembers everything, it splits everyone up, and chaos ensues. And that was basically what happens. Dokido's Adventure, I didn't know what was going to happen. And the only thing I knew for certain is that I wanted Bernard to be there, interact with people, and make some jokes. And I also wanted there to be a yandere section at the very end because I wanted to have another chance to have a bit of a yandere-esque moment, just because I missed writing those from Stalker, and also because I wanted to kind of hit back at the Yandere Club mod that was all over the place that ended on this note of like, hey, if you just need to delete this mod so that the girls go back to normal. And that was it. Because it could only go on for so long. I get it. But the Yandere attacks were just so addictive. And I wanted more of that. And I wanted to embrace that a bit. Um, I understand that that was not the focus of that mod when it eventually would come out. And that there could definitely be some crazy cool Yandere focused series in the future that could be a lot of fun. So we'll have to wait and see for those. But we did have that was the only thing that was really planned, and then after that Doki Doki War, I actually have planned out really well at the time, which is really funny. And I've only changed a few things. So this story that you were about to get is very old. It's from a mentality of mine from back when Stalker and Gone Missing were my main things. I still like it, but I just haven't changed it. I've only added to it to accommodate for the things that I've added and morphed with Corruption and Brenirk Sokudok Adventure and the Children of the Institute. But the main hits and beats are all the same, which might be interesting. So we made Corruption, and I made a trailer for it. Ooh. And we did the Joker promo, which I was excited for. The music in this is called um, I think it's Timber Timber or something like that. Sunshine. All I Need is Some Sunshine is the song, and it's the only reason I know about it is because a guy named Dr. Wolfula. Let me. This guy, he does reviews of horror movies, and when I was a kid and couldn't watch horror movies, it was really awesome. And when he would do this thing called October, he would have intros, and they would use songs. And obviously, Doki Tober is kind of a rip of that. It's a reference, but it's also, of course, a rip of that, an inspiration of that for DokuTuber oriented Halloween mods that showcase my some of my favorite horror movies and franchises, which was the whole point. Which is why I used that song because I thought it was really good. And I was very happy with these two mods. These two mods are amazing. You should go rewatch them just because they're so awesome, and you should see if you can recognize every single reference because in this movie there are references to A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, 3, 6. That might be it. Because it's like that person dies, and that person dies, and that's it. Very short mod. So yeah, Rimmer's only like references three movies, I think, because there weren't as many side characters that I could use. Friday the 13th, on the other hand, it references Friday the 13th multiple parts. It references part 3, part 6, part 4, part 5, part 7, part 8. I think that might be, and part 2. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 were all referenced in that one video at some point or another. You might not be able to find the part 3 reference because it's a bit more vague, but it's totally there. Hello. Thank you for the congratulations. By the way, we made Corruption Part 2 and we were still kind of on track for these mods to come out. I got my DDLC Plus Deluxe Physical Edition and I unboxed it and I made updates on the fact that I was obviously way behind on my mods. Of course, here I actually had a lot of fun and I still have a lot of the things that are still here. My laptop still has stickers on it. I still have the figurines and I still have the game, which I would play on a live stream later on. The Haunted School actually came out earlier than expected because I wanted at least to get something on time. And so that happened, and that's fun. The reason I didn't do that this year was because Dokitober hinges on the fact that I release it in the order that I have presented it. You kind of need to know or at least know the general basis of who the characters are from Phantasm, Child's Play, Leatherface, Killer Comes from Outer Space to understand some of the things that will happen later on. So I couldn't do this. But this was its own thing, and it was a bit of a. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted the headless horseman to attack, and I actually really liked the end product because I thought it was good. But I also felt disappointed that it seemed so rehashed. Attacks, epic climax, MC almost dies, but he's fine. And I was like, I really need to come up with a better formula for these mods because that seemed to happen over and over again. Scream occurred, and that references Scream 1, 1, and a little bit of 2, a little bit of 4, and I think that was it. I highly doubt I referenced 3 because I really didn't like Scream 3. Um, I thought Scream 3 was the lackluster of the bunch, but I referenced 1, 2, and 4 a bit, and that was actually really fun to make. Didocus versus the Holiday was actually a really fun mod because it combined the Apocalypse. We of course hinted at that at the end of the Apocalypse series, and we finally got a conclusion to that. I thought it was pretty epic. Everyone came back. It was a whole huge thing, and we're kind of planning a similar thing for the ending of the Holiday series again. But when I made this was supposed to be the end. They were going to figure out some multiversal stuff, and that would be the introduction to the multiverse. But I decided to change of plans as I got new ideas. Halloween came out in December. Woo. Kiyomi's Last Christmas was a Stalker short, and it was just an idea that I came up with to give context to different characters like Kiyomi and tide people over until I could get back to Corruption Part 3. Because I wanted a Christmas special, because I like Christmas specials, and that's what we did. Very good mod. Part 3, Part 4. Around this time, I came up with the idea of Children of the Institute for the first time. I'd always thought about making a Suicide Squad oriented DDLC mod, but I had never figured out how I would implement it until I was talking to Bree one day, and it came to me, and it completely changed the ending of Corruption. It completely changed it. Originally, it was just going to be that all the bad guys escaped, and um, Kochino was supposed to turn to be good, but everyone was basically supposed to. All the bad guys were to escape into hiding, and then Brenirk had to be called into for his adventure or something like that. Or I think it was always still supposed to be. Monica was supposed to kind of go crazy and forcibly take Brenirk in as a crazed person trying to fall in love with Brenirk because she had shown signs of that from Stalker and Gone Missing and whatnot. But once we figured out about the Children of the Institute, everything changed. And I love the ending of Part 4. I think it's a really good cliffhanger. I think it really gets you excited for what's next. Very good stuff. My Doki Doki Valentines. I have a love hate relationship with this mod. I simply wanted to ask what happens if you get asked out by everyone. Because you always have stories about these harem things, and everyone's like, oh, it's so amazing, it's so great, because you always want all these women to just love you. And I was like, no, you don't. And so I made a mod called My Doki Doki Valentines where everyone asks them out, and it all leads up to this. It has such great build up and interest, and you would get to pick your favorite ones, and either it was going to go one of two ways. Either one, you would pick a girl, and then you would go on a date with that said girl, and there'd be a specific mod for each one. That was a little ambitious when I was on such a time crunch, because I was. My second option was to diss on the people who wanted to date everyone. And that's what I did. I thought it would be crazy for someone to say, "Oh, I want to just date everyone. I want all the big anime titties I can get." And I wanted to slap you with cold water basically for saying stuff like that or thinking like that, you horny bastards. So that's why the ending ended like that. That's why there was the choice, and the choice of rejecting everyone was the good ending. Because you shouldn't realistically be dragging, what was it, 7 people along in one huge tandem relationship. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I know in history and different cultures there's concubines, but to my culture, that's kind of fucked up and mean on an emotional level. So, no. It did open up conversation about the topic of having multiple partners in the comment sections, which I was surprised of, and people seemed to enjoy the fact that they got to choose. I made a trailer, which I regret because it's a shitty trailer. If I might delete this one day just because it's bullshit. I just really wanted a trailer, and what I wanted to do, I couldn't do because it would get probably taken down by YouTube because it would use music that I don't own. Sometimes a lot of the ideas I get, I'll listen to a song and an idea will come to me from the song, not based off of the lyrics, just based on the tones. And I want to use the music to symbolize that because I think it works, and I never can, and it sucks. But of course, I went on a hiatus for a bit because I was really doubling down on getting. I got a job for the first time working in non-emergent EMS, and I was going to classes for advanced EMS school, and so I really didn't have time to code as much. I was spending more of my time with my fiance or girlfriend at the time, soon to be fiance, and so around that time I did think of making a new villain for a multiversal aspect because we had villains for our series, but what about we've been talking about colliding it all together. Who's going to be the bad guy? And Bree made some amazing sprites, and we got it. And I did this shadowy figure because I want the reveal of what this person looks like to be kind of cool. So it's been a mystery, and I made 3 mods to be basically shorts that are in between the series so far that show that this entity, this figure, has always been there. I would want to have 1 to 2 girls max. Seven's too much. A little bit, yeah. And then afterwards, I kind of got back into my groove of things with the Children of the Institute, which I am still very proud of because this mod is completely me. It There is only very little that stems off of DDLC as a concept, and none of the Dokis take part in it. They are mentioned as existing, and that is it. This is an amazing prequel in my eyes. I think that it hinges on things that you already know from previous mods that have come out and add to it. And I think that it adds clarity to the ending of corruption, and I think it pulls at your heartstring. I think it solidifies the unknown figure or the entity as a very terrifying and very legitimate villain. Very happy with that. If you haven't watched that, you need to watch this. I know it's 2 hours long, but it's so good. It's so good. And then, of course, we got Tokutober Year 2 for the SCPs. We went for an anthology series because there's so many creatures. Um, I thought it would make sense instead of doing one mod for like one SCP, which is what we did, but it would be weird if they didn't all connect because it's all the same universe. So we made an anthology where it's about each character's travels through the containment, breach. Monica, Kiyomi, Yuri, Sayori, Mio, Natsuki, Himari, and Kotonoa as they go through these horrors. Um, and they experience different SCPs. And it's actually, I really enjoy it. Of course, around this time, there was the Hearts Up for Yandere, which, if you don't know what that is, you can watch the video. But it had happened, and I made a response to it. And I was very happy with my response. These I was pretty happy with because I was hoping to get them out sooner and sooner because they were supposed to be very short mods, 10, 20 minutes long. This one went 30 minutes, but you get the idea. 15, 20, 21, 25. Like they were supposed to be like very short mods that you could get out more easily than these, 2 hour, 1 hour mods. Um, the thing that really threw a wrench in that is me being lazy and also working on a collab. Around the time I had been approached by Monica D or Marco about doing a collab for Halloween because I make so much horror content, they thought I'd be a great guy to work on for a spooky mod. So Diverse, Yandere, Monica D, and I got together and made the mod. It was rife. It didn't almost happen. It almost didn't happen. I came up with this idea based off of inspiration from folklore such as Bloody Mary, possession stories from uh, Japanese like folklore that I had recently been getting into from video games like the Death Mark that had taken inspiration from that, as I recall, and but maybe I'm wrong. And I also had taken inspiration from Stephen King's works such as The Shining and Misery for different characters and events. Either way, I'd made up the idea of a haunted mansion because someone went back to my haunted school video. Let's see, is this one? And they commented, "What about a haunted mansion?" So that's what we did. Um, so thank you for giving the idea, I guess. We came up with the idea of mirrors being a pathway to possession. We came up with, horribly disgusting monsters as you see in that video. Diverse create helped supply us with different sound effects. Yandere was able to greatly write a lot of the dialogue for, like, I think Yuri and Natsuki. Marco wrote a lot of dialogue for Monica and Marco, and Diverse wrote a lot of dialogue for Sayori in the first half. And around after the first half, so after Monica gets possessed and everyone splits up and they maybe find some evidence and then they leave to around that time of finding evidence in that kind of that area of the story, there was a bit of a halt in production because we all had different schedules and it was hard to keep working on it together. One thing that kept being a problem was that schedule. And eventually we were saying, I don't know if we could do this. And they said we need to get this done before I think it was like Wednesday or something, so that Diverse can actually edit it. Because he was going to use his amazing editing skills to edit everything together and make it real pretty. That did not happen because Diverse has a job and he also has a dun 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 a life, which means that he doesn't have as much free time as anyone else. I, on the other hand, I was on break, so I wasn't at my job, and I was very easily able to have the free time. And I said, well, if you just let me write everything, I can code all the character. I can code it. I can write the story. I didn't say code. I said I'd write the story, and that's what I did. I started where we left off, and I finished the story. So from about that point onward, I was writing all the dialogues and events as it was. After that was in that ending. So if you didn't, so if at a certain point Marco's mannerisms seem to change or they didn't seem to act like you thought they should act, you can thank me because apparently either that means you're astute and you recognize that a different writer was at play, or you didn't recognize it and I did a really good job at trying to mimic Marco's writing style. I was really trying hard to do that. I really thought that I really encapsulated Marco's character for a horror situation, and I was very proud of that. I'm actually starting to read Misery as my weekly book that I personally bought as I watched the movie. I got interested in the movie, bought the book, touched it for months, began reading. I read Misery, fun fact, I read Misery years ago. It was way before 2020. It was during like my freshman, sophomore year of high school. So that would have been 15, 2018? 2018 about, I think. I think it would be 2018 that I read Misery for the first time. And that would be around that time that I also got to watch the movie for the first time as well. Very good book. There are some segments in the book where the main character is writing a book because the main character is a writer, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the story, in my opinion. It's very boring, um, and the movie drops it for a reason. Book is very good. Movie's very faithful. If you enjoy the movie, you'll enjoy the book, but you'll also find that they're so close together that you can watch the movie and get a very similar story. Take that as you will. Either way, I finished the story. Everyone got attacked. We got the ending. We got the Rocky Melon hitting the picture, which is a reference to The Shining from the book perspective, not the movie perspective. We had a story with, I think the name Annie Wilkes was around somewhere, or at least Wilkes was the last name of the family, which is a reference to Annie Wilkes, which is a character in Misery, if you didn't know. Also, the circumstances around the mansion murders was actually inspired by real life murders that had taken place on Christmas Day. A father of a family in a cabin in the woods. It was a snowy cabin. For some reason on Christmas Day, he took a shotgun and murdered his family. And then he murdered himself. It was quite gruesome, and no one really knows why it happened or what was going on. And it's very much like a murder mystery thing because no one knows why it happened. There was no suicide note, and that kind of was the foundation for the idea that I used for the mansion mod. Now, of course, After I finished writing it, I sent it back to Yandere and Marco to look over everything and make any changes that they wanted. They did. We sent it to Diverse, and Diverse had a life, so we couldn't edit it all in the time frame that we needed it to be done by Halloween. So they scrapped it. Did they tell me about this? Hell no. I was probably away working on these, SCP mods, so it wasn't like I was very available for them to tell me, but they scrapped it. They said that since it couldn't be done, that they couldn't do it. And I said, well, can you just let me do it? If you'll just, I have the code, like the script. I can code that, I can record it, and I can send it to you to upload. It may not be as pretty as Diverse's editing, because I can't edit like Diverse. Diverse is really good at that. But we'll have something, and the hard work that everyone put in, especially me, since I had written like a half of the mod at that point, wouldn't go to waste. So I spent the next couple weeks coding everything and then recording everything, and I sent it to Monica D a little bit after Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving, a little bit after Halloween, and he wanted to release it a little bit after Thanksgiving. The problem with that was nothing really. It released it, but the problem on the premiere was that the audio that I used for music was copyrighted, and he had to silence it so that he could get ad revenue. I wasn't happy about that because that meant that it was silent for certain parts and it was just weird, and I felt that it really made the mod look really stupid, and it did. And I hated that so many people were anticipating this mod and we worked so much time on this mod, and that had happened. So I asked Marco Moxie if I could release an unsilenced version on my channel so that if people were interested in having a mod that wasn't silenced at points, like I'll take the hit. I'll take the, not getting ad revenue because I don't get money from any of my videos. I've never wanted to because that means it's a job. And if it's a job, I actually got to follow a schedule. And who wants to do that? And he said, sure. He said, absolutely, go for it. Because he was totally understanding. Yeah, I was just like, I wanted to make the story very available. I'm off to bed. Good night from the Cafe University. Oh, thank you. Did you know that the main character in Misery and the father of Buddy and the Elf died last year? Yes, James Caan, Caan. They played both the main character in Misery and the father of Buddy and Elf. He also played lots of bad boy roles, jocks and fighters in lots of movies, which was really weird because that was what he was known for. And then he ended up getting, into an Oscar-winning movie where he was bedridden for the entire thing. Uh, Very cool stuff, but it was very sad when he died. Anyhow, that was the history of Doki Doki Haunted Mansion. It was difficult because at first none of us really knew how we should collab. What we found was as a good way to collab was to get in voice calls and then have someone open up a script and we just start writing, like we spit ideas and someone would write it down. That was the idea. Wasn't perfect, but I really liked it. Recently, Yandere and Diverse have found other ways to collab that they find to be more enjoyable. Um, but I don't know anything about that. But I finished these mods around December. I eventually got through it all. And Christmas was rolling around and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I had this random thought of doing something very grim. Um, I would. I remember I was just like in my own headspace thinking about grim stories. And I remember thinking that it would be so crazy if we spent an entire mod with the Dokis again, just kind of having a Christmas party or something, but something seems off. Like the Dokis maybe don't react to MC or something, and maybe they don't acknowledge his existence, and it gets worse and worse as the day goes on, and then it's revealed at the last minute that it's all in his head because in reality he's in a coma and he's in a hospital spending Christmas all alone, and that's where it ends, and it's very fucking sad. I decided not to do that because I felt like there was no point other than being a horrible bastard to my fans. And what I eventually did is that I tweaked it to be about Sayori and having that same thing where you were there at the Christmas party, but things were just off. And then Brenirk shows up and starts kind of explaining that things are very much off. The calendar's a year ahead. It's not actually Christmas, not in reality. It's actually like the spring, and it's really weird. And it's because in reality, Sayori has hung herself like she does in the game. She is trying to kill herself, and in that mod, it's basically the idea that when you are dying, your life does not flash before your eyes. Instead, the impact your life had on others will flash before your eyes. The future impact of the things you did in life and the impact of your death will flash before your eyes, which is why Sari is shown a year later at Christmas after her death instead of anything else. It's almost like a Christmas Carol with a Christmas future, and It's a Wonderful Life because it's about the value of your own life. It's about valuing your own life because even if you don't perceive the reality, as with the coin that's used as a metaphor to show that even though you may only see head sides to situations, there is always a tail side, even if you can't see it, if you can't perceive it, because people just say it's just not true. And I'm saying that's bullshit. There is a tail side, no matter what you do. Every coin has heads and tails. All these situations have another side to it. And when you die, you leave a horrible mark. And violence begets more violence. You killing yourself, you hurting yourself, or you being even just you being a shitty person encourages more people to do bad things because violence begets violence, and that's a huge theme here. And of course, it ends on a cliffhanger on if Sari will survive her attempt. Um, and that's still supposed to be a mystery. Does she survive? We don't know. It's the same thing when a real person makes an attempt. It's a very serious mod about that. Um, Shortly after that mod would come out, I would deal with suicide on emergency calls, and I think that my stance then is still holds true. Uh, it can be very, very sad, and I wanted it to be serious. You don't know if you decide to kill yourself, if EMS will be able to save you or not, if you'll be found in time. You don't know. You could, and you might get that second chance that Sarah was hoping for, or you may not, which is why it's on a cliffhanger. It's meant to be unknown because in reality, it's just unknown. And then for the new year, I of course I brought back the holiday series with Black Friday Chaos because the original idea for the return of the holiday series was to do holiday mods in holidays that I didn't do before, which was basically two holidays, Black Friday and New Year's. Uh, that was the main thing. So that's what we did. Um, of course, we killed Uncle Sam, which was actually really cool in my opinion. And we also introduced new characters who would go missing and become really important later on. I'm really excited about Cassie because I have a whole thing planned for her. You don't even know the twists. Um, Tina's there. She got introduced, I think, in this mod here as well. I'm really excited about Tina because I really love Tina as a character. I love writing Tina. I love writing different characters for. I know, like right now, it's like all you know is the horrible Tina, but and that's true. She is her little bad girl self, and she is a horrible person in the grasps of like the Stalker timeline for the entities. But like I just really enjoyed writing the character there. That was a lot of fun to write. Then there was the Hearts Out for Cass, Friends of Cass, which was not as serious as Hearts Out for Yandere, but that was more about. I gave an explanation in there. If you want to, you can watch the video and you can read my comments as I respond to people asking why I did it, and I explain myself pretty well. But I believe that the situation that is presented in that video is common for a lot of people. I think it's something that everyone will face in their life, and getting some friendly advice could never hurt. Hopefully. Of course, then we got Brenirk's Doki Doki Adventure. We finally figured out what was going to happen, which was basically um, amping up the entity, amping up that, having some yandere bullshit go on, amping up the entity. Did I mention amping up the entity? Because that's the whole point of this series. It's also meant to amp up, you know, the. This is also a point where hopefully, if you've been paying attention, everything kind of connects together. A lot of questions are answered in Brenirk's Doki Doki Adventure, as with the entity, as with the coding power, as with the sequence of events. It's all kind of answered in the end with the entity. So very nice stuff. A date with Brenirk is a obvious clone of a date with Markiplier. I loved the idea of making an interactive video where you all got to choose different paths and they led to goofy endings. And it was so much fun to write and make. I was very happy with it. There are tons of references to different mods I've made, to different friends I've made in the community. Um, that is a very good mod. I am very happy with it, and if you haven't played through it, you should, just because I think it's a really fun time. An Unlucky Holiday. This is my favorite holiday series mod outside of maybe the first one. This is the most serious one, and I love it. I'm such a lover of serious stuff at times, and I loved the inclusion of another DokiTuber such as Doki Senate. I loved how it incorporates the ultimate crossover series that Doki Senate's making. I love how it amps up the entity some more. I've been really amping them up. I love how it reintroduces Darth Vader and Star Wars a bit because Doki Senate loves Star Wars. I love how you get a bit of a conclusion with Kamuko and a setup for Cassie. I don't love how the leprechaun dies, but I was very happy with it at the time, and I still am now. I'm not going to come back on it. It serves its purpose. I just hate the fact that for a little bit I won't be able to make these snarky character comments with the leprechaun. Then, of course, we went for part three of Doki Doki's Adventure because I was hoping to finish Bernard's Doki Doki Adventure before the awards. Because around this time we'd come up with the awards, as I mentioned before, with all that when I was asked about it. Of course, I didn't. It wasn't until after the awards that I was able to actually finish it with the longest time of any mod. 2.5 hours is that mod. Holy shit. It is a huge mod with a lot of things happening. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to the details because they reappear a lot to help you understand the sequence of events and to enjoy the drama. Because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing it. I enjoyed finishing it. And of course, then I took a bit of a hiatus as I focused more on work and school because school really kicked into gear at that point. So now, even though I have plans for Stalker Shorts and the finale of the Stalker timeline, right now the main focus is the Dokitober mods and maybe a Christmas special of some sort. Who knows? But those are the goals, and if so, that's the plan. I got nothing else. There was a huge delay in getting the sprites done because of school. So I'm telling you, school really kicked in, and this has been quite the hectic schedule. Both Bree and I can attest to that. So getting everything ready for Dokitober just took a lot longer than ever before. Um, it just happens. There's nothing I could have done about it. There's nothing Bree could have done about it. It just sort of happens. Wait a minute, is Tina the entity's puppet? Like how he used the warden's body to hide himself, except Tina was his owner primary is forced you watch while alive? Um, Not exactly. I think you kind of got a somewhat of a good idea, but Tina's relationship with the warden, as shown in the Stalker, is evident of something, I think. I think that you've got a really good theory. It's just not 100% accurate. So, I hope this clears up with the warden. The warden died in the Children of the Institute. The entity then possessed the warden. So every time you see him afterwards, it's actually the entity, never the warden. The warden is just a costume for him because he's just possessing his body so that the entity can work in the Stalker universe without being spotted by Brenirk, without being stopped, without anyone knowing that it's actually him. That is, except for it seems at times Dr. Ollie seems to catch on to the fact that the warden's not himself. Everyone knows that the warden's just horrible. And Tina is the only one who seems very unfazed by this, and she's also newly introduced to Bernirk's Doki Doki Adventure, which I think is something to take note of. She has a sudden appearance in all of this, and I think it's something to take note of. Her role in the multiverse will be thoroughly explained in the finale of the holiday series, as everything will be revealed, and more multiversal based mods, such as the origins of the entity, such as other more detailed showings of what happened, things like that will come out after the ending of the Stalker timeline in the holiday series. We'll get some more answers on that. So that is the idea here. We will get more answers as time comes. So you've got a good theory. I think it's a really good theory. I'm excited that you've got a good theory because it's really cool, and I think you're getting close, but it's just not there yet. But we'll get there. It may be a lot more simple than you're making it out to be. That's all I'll say on it though. So that's all the mods right now. I did want to do one last thing though before I finish up um, this this reminiscing, because I've reflected on my experience. I enjoy my experience. I know that because I took hiatuses to prioritize work and school, that I have declined in popularity. Lots of people who have subscribed probably don't even know. They probably think I'm just dead. I don't know. I don't get as many views anymore. And it might just be because maybe the content I'm making just doesn't interest people, or it's just because everyone thought I died because I didn't make content for a while. Hopefully, I will be able to the. You mean his body because the warden's dead, yeah. But um, hopefully with time, I will get back to where I was making content very consistently, and that will hopefully get us back on track to get more subscribers and help the channel grow so that you guys can get some amazing content and we can continue to thrive in this community because that's the whole point. We want people to enjoy these stories. That is the plan, at least. So, oh yeah, that was the whole thing about Himari. That was the whole thing. Oh my gosh. Yes, the McDonald's series was made this year. Um, the McDonald's series was basically a way for me to have fun while I was in the middle of working on mods, or basically that I couldn't work on mods because I was too busy with school and work. Because I could film myself having lunch easily, and I could have fun with it by making it about the DokuTubers, similar to how McDonald's makes their like certain meals as a deal when they are the meals of celebrities. It's the same thing with DokuTubers. That's still being made. I don't have as much of a drive to continue making them because they're not successful videos. They're just fun videos for me to show off what everyone eats and just to have fun. You can watch every single one of them. There is a playlist that you can all access. If you go to playlists on the channels, you see playlists, go there, scroll down, DokuTubers official McDonald's meals. They're all here. You can watch every single one of them. I just unlisted them because they were cluttering up my feed, or not my feed, but like the channel. So it all just looked like McDonald's stuff. And I try to unlist things that make it look like less DDLC and more other things. So that's why live streams are unlisted. That's why these videos are unlisted. If it's not one of the mods or some sort of huge project, it's gonna be unlisted. And if it is unlisted, that doesn't mean you can't watch it. It just means that it's on a playlist. I was a part of this. I was asked to be a voice for this like analog horror thing that Cass C Artistic Studios made. So that was actually really cool. If you haven't seen that, go watch that because I'm in it. So it's pretty cool. If I keep going back, I will eventually hit. Yeah, those were fun. I remember that. As part of the resolutions of the channel, I wanted to be consistent with doing live streams, and there was the challenge marathon for Lego. I remember that. So at the end of the 2 year anniversary, I made a series of. Oh look, there's another thing I appeared in. I was doing collabs with TSWC. That also actually got nominated for the 2022 DokuTuber Awards as well. That was very cool. I'm very excited about that. But here it is, I think. And when the year is through, we can see what I did or didn't accomplish. These are my resolutions from last year for what I should do in the next year. So let's see how I did. My first achievement was to finish the Stalker timeline. We did not do that. We finished the Brenirk's Doki Doki adventure, but since I took on a huge, ambitious project, probably one of the most ambitious projects the DokiTuber community has ever seen, everything else was halted. Everything else took a sideline. This was the priority for the channel that year, and I don't regret it because I'm very proud of that. I think it was a worthy sacrifice. The awards was not fully thought up of yet when I was making these, so you know, um, um, well, I wasn't planning for it, so it threw a lot of these resolutions off. My next one was finish DokiTuber Year 2 and try to get Year 3 out on time. So I did, of course, finish Year 2 on time, but of course, Year 3 is not out on time. I wanted to, I want Dokitober to be out consistently only within October. I just haven't been able to do that. Eventually, I will. I am determined to, but for the time being, I just can't. We will eventually. Next one was work on new original series. Um, that didn't happen. The closest you could say, if you want to call the awards a series, but no, we did. The reason I say original, I mean something that's outside of the holiday series or the Stalker timeline. I had at that time many different series that I wanted to make, but I haven't gone through with them because I needed to finish the holiday series and the Stalker timeline, and I wanted to explore some of those new series that I have, and I still want to. Once I'm finished with them, that's what's going to happen next. It's just that I've got to get through that first. As for our sequence of timeline of events, even in a multiverse, there is a timeline of events. Work on actually starting the collab ideas. So there were a lot of collab ideas that I've been a part of, and I haven't. And in it's been 3 years. These things have been on the fucking shelves for 3 years. Every single person who's made collab ideas with me, I have them archived basically in like notes and documents of like what the ideas were and the specifics of those ideas for like if whenever I want to return and actually do them. But damn, I need to get on that because it's been 3 years. It's just and they've all been I've polished them. I'm really excited to make them. It's just I gotta get through these other series first, and making mods is slow when I'm having to juggle it with school and work, which are just bigger priorities. And not to mention my own social life that includes family and friends. So, I get it happens. My fifth resolution was to have 30 mods uploaded for the year. That did not happen. So I uploaded the New Year's, the date with if you want to count every single video that came out as with a date with Markiplier as a not sorry, not a date with Markiplier, a date with Brenirk, as you have different choices and those choices lead to different mods. If you want to count each choice as a mod, then I'm fairly certain that we hit 30. If you count a day with Brenirk as one whole collective mod, which I think is completely fair, then no, we didn't. We made like 8 mods. As of today, we had the 4 burner Doki Doki Adventure ones. We had 3 holiday mods and 1 Dokitober mod, and then a promo. So 4, 3, 8, 9 if you count the promo, and that's it. So we actually, I think we might have done worse than last year, which is not good. As I continue to get busier, it's just harder to get things done. But also to defend myself on that, I didn't take a hiatus. At no point did I just say I'm just not going to make mods. Sure, it took me time. I did take, I guess, like a month hiatus from making a mod for September. I didn't post anything that month, but I'd also just come from making the most ambitious project of DokiTuber time and also the largest mod I've ever made. I deserved a damn break. I've made a lot of achievements this year that just have nothing to do with these resolutions. I'm proud of what I've done, but it just because I've gone on such a grander scale, these, achievements were just harder to achieve. Do more fun live streams, tried to keep to a schedule. I wanted to do more, gameplays and I wanted to keep up with birthday streams and I absolutely did not. Um, I tried to use the challenge marathon for Legos to keep to consistent schedules, and it worked for a bit until I got about halfway through them, and I was dead tired of Lego games. I will continue that challenge marathon. I'm not giving up. I just need a break so I don't throw myself through a wall. It just became really, really, really tedious, and I was very bored, and I wasn't having fun, and no one in the chat was having fun because I wasn't having fun. You know, fun live streams. If I can't have fun, there's no point. Do a playthrough of a mod. I had to do that. I didn't even really plan to do that. People just keep telling me to do it, and I say I'll do it, but I'm never gonna do it. I will do it eventually, I'm sure, just not today. Start the horror book series. This is what I was talking about earlier in this live stream, talking about that I've been really planning this series about reading and reviewing the horror novels that I've collected over the past 5 years or so, because I've gotten a huge collection. I'd love to share that with you, but I just don't know how to present it in a way that you will all find it very interesting. So I didn't make it, not yet. Eventually, hopefully, but eh. Bring the Great Turkey back. Yep, we did that. He's back. Yay! We did that almost immediately after this came out. 10. Reach 5K subs and more if possible. Let's see. Nope. We're 29,000 subs below the mark. We did not reach 5K subs in that year, and that is very sad. That is very sad indeed. But hopefully, next year we will make 5K. I do plan to make resolutions, and most likely I will make the same resolutions again for this year in an attempt to, hopefully achieve them. So we shall see. Either way, this has been 3 years of DDLC mods. From the first Stalker to the most recent Spooks, we have made so many mods. I'm so proud of what I've created. I'm proud of the DokuTuber Awards because even if I didn't achieve all of my resolutions, I have made something that I think is really quite amazing. And I think it really helped bring the community together, and I hope to do it again next year. So, with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much for consistently being by my side, even though I'm inconsistent with my uploads. You deserve it. Like, yeah, let's go to the Universal Timelines and save everybody. Well, thank you, J Money. Collab series, Night Doki series, Nightwing. Yep, there is that. There are lots of collabs, and one of them is with Night Doki, yes. So there's a lot of things that we're wanting to do. And I'm gonna upload a community post about what our resolutions are gonna be for the next year, the year four. And we're gonna try to make them, okay? We're gonna have a lot of fun. And I have high hopes. Hopefully we'll hit that 5K. Hopefully we'll get all these mods out. Hopefully you guys will have some awesome content from Brenirk. But even if it doesn't go to plan, I'm thankful that I have so many people who are just interested in the content either way. So thank you all, and have a wonderful night.